discuss only three topics. The topic number 1, which is the carbon cycle, topic number 2, which is nitrogen cycle, and the topic number 3, which is various types of pollution in the chemical and allied industries. Okay, so first of all, we start with the topic number 1, which is carbon cycle. But before starting the carbon cycle, here we are discuss about the classification of biochemical cycle. In the previous lecture, I was explaining you the various classification of biogeochemical cycle, right? So basically they are divided into the 4 major cycle, which is carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, then sulfur cycle, and the phosphorus cycle. Right, but here in today's lecture we are discuss only 2 cycle. The first one, which is carbon cycle, and the second is nitrogen cycle. Right, so let's start the first cycle, which is carbon cycle. Okay, so what is carbon cycle? So here the various processes of the carbon cycle are there. The first one, the photosynthesis process, right? So basically carbon begin with the photosynthesis process. Okay, in the first process, during the photosynthesis process, the plant and algae and other bacteria which remove the carbon dioxide from the air and release the oxygen into the air, right? So here it is a complex organic compound, it is such as the glucose, right? For example, 6CO2 plus 12H2O, it gives glucose, it means 6H12O6, right? Now the photosynthesis, which is incorporate carbon from the abiotic to the biological compound to the producer, right? Now the second process, which is called decomposition and animal, plant and respiration and soil. Okay, so in this process, the first of all, the many compounds are used as a fuel for the cellular respiration, right? Producer that man. But by the consumer, they eat producer, or by the decomposer that break down the remain of the producer or the consumer, right? And the CO2 and the respiration process, the CO2 which is returned into the atmosphere, right? So the process of the photosynthesis, the carbon atoms from the carbon dioxide into the sugars, right? And the animal eat the plant and use the carbon to build their own tissues or build their own energies, right? So these animals return carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere when they are breathed, right? And when they are die, the carbon is returned into the soil during the decomposition process, and then millions of years, then vast coal beds form from the fossil fuels, and again here carbon, after that fossil fuel burning, the carbon is again goes to the atmosphere, right? Now the third process, which is partially decomposition plants remains. It means that again I will explain you the coal beds are formed, then they are burned, and then again in aerobic condition they are fully decayed, right? And the next process, which is marine plankton remains. It means that in this process the oil of unicellular marine organism, which give rise to the underground deposits of oil and natural gas that accumulated in the geological past, right? Then coal, oil, natural gas, and the fossil fuels, it is called fossil fuels because they form the remains on ancient organisms, and the fossil fuel are the non-renewable resources, we know that, right? So the earth has a finite or limited supply of these resources. Okay, the next one, which is the combustion. It means that the process of burning of combustion mainly return the carbon dioxide, carbon in the oil, coal or natural gas and wood to the atmosphere, right? So the combustion, the organic molecules are rapidly oxidized with the oxygen and converted to the carbon dioxide and water with release to the light and the heat. Okay. The next one, which is the burial and compaction to form the rock. It means the limestone, and ever greater amount of the carbon that is stored for millions of the years incorporate into the shell of the marine organisms, right? So when this organism die and the decomposition process are there, they sink into the ocean floor and sediment cover, then forming cemented together to form a limestone. Okay, and the last one, which is the erosion of limestone to the form of dissolved CO2. It means that when the process of geological uplift explores limestone, chemical and physical weathering process, slowly they erode it, right, and the return carbon to the water atmosphere where it is available to the particulate in the carbon cycle once again. So this is the all about the carbon cycle. Here on screen you can see that the carbon cycle are there. The first of all, the photosynthesis process are there. After the photosynthesis process, the plant, the animal which eat the plant and the food chain will continue, right? After that the plants and animals are dead and the decomposition process are there. So after the decomposition process, the CO2 is produced into the CO2 is formed, and then after they go to the atmosphere. So here the cycle is continue till the end, right? Okay, the next one, which is nitrogen cycle. Okay, we know that it is a biogeochemical cycle, right? And the nitrogen is converted into the multiple form like nitrites, nitrate, ammonia, ammonium, and etc. So the nitrogen availability can affect the rate of the ecosystem process, right? And human activities such as the fossil fuel combustion and use of the artificial nitrogen fertilizers, and then and release nitrogen into the wastewater, right? So here for the for the nitrogen cycle, the various processes are there. The first of all, nitrogen fixation. It means that nitrogen fixation means the conversion of the nitrogen into the nitrogenous compound, right? So basically, okay, but most of the fixation is done by the free living organism like the disotrops or rhizobium, right? So this bacteria have the nitrogen enzyme. Okay, in the nitrogen fixation process, the nitrogen which is convert into the ammonia in ammonium. It means that NH3 and NH4 with the help of the bacteria like rhizobium and the disotrops, right? The second process, which is called ammonification. It means that here the nitrogen compound like ammonia and ammonium, which is also converted into the other compound of the nitrogen like the nitrates and the nitrite with the help of the bacteria, which is called nitrosomonas, right? Now this third process, which is called assimilation. It means that after that the all living things and the waste products are decomposed by the microorganism, and the process of ammonification which yield ammonia from the organic oxygen, right? So the ammonia can leave the soil and to be converted into the nitrogen compound depending on the part of the soil condition, right? Okay, after this process, the next here, okay, here the ammonification are there. After that, the plants and animals take the nitrogen from the soil, and they are after that they are decomposed. Decomposition process are there, and in the presence of the some bacteria, they are converting into the ammonium, right? Okay, the next process, which is called a nitrification. So here the nitrification, it means that again the conversion of ammonium to the nitrite in the nitrifying bacteria. Okay, so it is a primary stage of nitrification. The oxidation of ammonia to nitrate is performed by the nitrosomonas bacteria, which convert ammonia to the nitrate. And the last process, which is called denitrification. It means that again the nitrogen, which is here the complete of the nitrogen cycle, and again the nitrogen which is released into the atmosphere, right? So this process is performed by the bacterial species like the Clostridium in the anaerobic condition, right? Because they have no oxygen, right? So they are break down the chemical compound of the nitrates and the nitrate. They use the nitrate as the electron acceptor in the place of the oxygen during the respiration process, right? Okay, here on screen you can see that the nitrogen cycle are there. The first process, which is the nitrogen fixation, right? So in the nitrogen fixation, the first is the atmospheric nitrogen, which is converted into the ammonia and ammonium with the help of the bacteria rhizobium, right? right? Okay, so after that the second process, which is ammonification. Okay, in the ammonification process, the nitrites and the nitrogen compound which is converted into the nitrate and the nitrite, again with the help of the bacteria, right? Okay, after ammonification process, the assimilation process are there. After assimilation process, again nitrification process are there. So in nitrification process, the decomposition of the plants and the animals, and they again convert nitrites are again convert into the ammonia, right? And the last one, which is the nitrification process. So in the nitrification process, the nitrogen compound which is converted into the original nitrogen or atmospheric nitrogen, right? So so this is a whole cycle of the nitrogen cycle, right? Now the next topic, which is the various types of pollutant in the chemical and allied industry. Okay, so basically the first one, which is the impact of the coal mining and the chemical pollution. The third one, fossil fuel related pollutant in environment. The fourth one, which is ozone depletion, and the last one, which is the impact of urban area and the solid waste management. Okay, so first of all, we start with the impact of coal mining, right? Okay, the coal mining, it requires large area, and coal is mined and surface and the underground, right? So basically surface mining is increase the aquatic pollution by the runoff of the mining drainage, right? So basically the sources of the surface mining, which is the noise, then dust from the blasting, okay, then pollutant from the machineries and etc. And the underground mining, it's a main problem, which is the acid mine drainage, and it cause a health hazard, right? The health safety of the miner is very important because of the high record of death and injury from the explosion fire. About 80,000 miners are dead in the US, right? Okay, so this is the impact of the coal mining. Now the second one, which is a chemical pollution. Okay, modern technological development have increased rate of the chemical pollution, right? So like for steel, then non-ferrous metals, fertilizers and petroleum, and the sources of this toxic pollutant like the lead, cadmium, nickel, zinc and etc., which affect the health as well, right? So excess amount of chemical fertilization and the toxic chemical in the land and water, which create a water pollution and the land pollution. The discharge of the biomedical waste, hospital waste, and the mercury in the river, it causes a river pollution, right? So this is all about the chemical pollution. Now the third one, which is the fossil fuel related pollutant in the environment, right? Okay, so when coal and other fossil fuel are burned, they emitted variety of pollutant in the environment like hydrocarbons, then nitrogen, then sulfur. Okay, so most important pollutant, which is sulfur dioxide, right? Whenever sulfur dioxide is oxidized in the atmosphere, it is converted into the H2SO4. It means sulfuric acid, right? And when aerosol and mist containing this H2SO4, it damage the vegetation, than material, and it is also affect the human life, right? And another major concern with the acid rain. Okay, we all know about the acid rain. It is the chemical formula of acid rain, which is CO2 plus H2O. It gives the H2CO3, right? And the major important component of the acid rain, which is the HNO3, right? So the effect of the acid rain, which is the it affect on the building material, then it is also affect on the aquatic life, then it is also affect the human also, right? Then the problem, which is eye irritation are there, and etc. So this is all about the fossil fuel related pollutant in the environment. Now the fourth one, which is the ozone layer. Okay, the ozone is present in the stratosphere in the 20 to 25 kilometer above the Earth's surface, right? So ozone layer, which protect us from the UV rays, UV rays coming from the sun, right? If ozone layer get depleted whenever UV rays reach to the earth, right, and which damage the crop production like corn and rice, bean and etc., and it also causes skin cancer, then eye irritation and etc. Okay, now the next one, which is the impact of the urban area. It means that how the urban area pollute the environment, right? So basically the first step, which is the combustion of the fossil fuel, it means the industrialization, and the second thing, which is the motor vehicles, right, which produce the hydrocarbon and sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide and etc. So by formation of the pollutant and photochemical smog and etc., the product of such give a rise in the health and damage the vegetation and cause the eye irritation, and it's also cause a respiration problem, right? Basically the solar radiation reaches 50 to 20% of the less than the rural area, because the rural area's environment is very healthy, right? Okay, and the last one, which is the solid waste. Okay, so we all know that in our India the major problem of the solid waste management, right? Okay, because of the due to the rapid population in the urban area, okay, and the new technologies, okay, then a tendency of rural area to move in the urban areas, right? So basically the increase in population, and the population or the people use a new technology, ultimately the product which is converted into the solid waste, right? So that the solid waste, the rate of the solid waste generation is very high. So this is the all about the solid waste management. Okay. Okay, this is the all about the today's lecture. I hope you all understood about the today's lecture, and thank you for the watching. Thank you.